Hello, today I'm sharing this layout which I made with the MercyTiara kits, Take Me Home kit and add-ons. And this is a vertical design, which I don't do all that often, so I'm going to share the process with you. But before I do that, I wanted to share the whole inspiration for this layout, which is right here over to the side. So every month over on the MercyTiara Kit Club Facebook group, which I will link down below in the information section, we have a challenge, and many months it's been a sketch challenge, but this month I decided to shake it up a little bit. The Take Me Home kit has a bit of a cooking theme, and so I decided to make a recipe challenge. I love recipe challenges for scrapbooking, which is where you have a challenge to use this type of item and that type of item and that type of item all on a layout. And I decided to have some fun with the recipe challenge, so you can read it right there. Our challenge is to use one flare button or badge, use 1 to 2 doilies, room temperature, a food item, an embellishment or pattern paper or a stamp or a food topic, 3 to 20 gold letter stickers, chilled, and a pinch of confetti to taste, a 1/4 cup of Storytelling Mojo melted, and fold in 1/2 cup of nostalgia. Combine all ingredients, bake in a warm craft room for 2 to 8 hours until done, until nothing else fits on the page, or until it feels done when you examine it from all the different angles. Yep, looks done. Share with friends and family, enclose in a page protector, and store in a cool, dry place for 20 to 100 plus years. That is my recipe challenge. And if you would like to play along with this challenge, head on over to the Facebook group that's linked below. The winner of this challenge, every month I select a random winner of all of the people who participate, and the winner gets a $25 gift certificate to the shop. So please play along and also enjoy this process video that's coming right up. Hello and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. I'm Tracy, also known as MercyTiara, and I share scrapbooking process videos and more here on my channel. Today I am starting with a challenge from our MercyTiara Kit Club Facebook page. You can see the challenge right up there in the top of your screen. Now the winner of this challenge wins a $25 gift certificate to the kit shop. So head on over there. The information for our Facebook group is listed at the end of this video. Now that paper with the gingham or plaid look to it reminded me immediately of a tablecloth. So I wanted to use that. And then the fancy pants paper underneath of it, that floral, I thought really added a lot of warmth to the page. So I'm going to use that as a mat and that gingham paper as the tablecloth background for my page. And now I'm just looking for what else I might want to use with this. Ooh, I really like this. This is from the American Crafts Farmstead Harvest collection. I really love that. And I'm going to cut out some of these elements here. This is one of the Simple Stories papers that come in the kit. All of the items from this layout come from the Take Me Home kit and embellishment add-ons. I'm just cutting out anything that I think might go. I really love that salt shaker, so I cut that out as well, not realizing there's actually an embellishment in one of the embellishment packs for that, but for now I just cut that piece out. I'm going to mat this photo on this paper. I matted my last photo on this paper as well, but I just think that this is a really nice matting paper. It's a nice rich goldeny yellow color, and I think it just works really beautifully for warming up a photo. I was thinking about double matting or adding a chunk of this orange paper, so I'm just going to tear off a chunk of it with my ruler. It's a little bit bigger, taller than the photo, but I'm thinking at this point that I might go with a bit of a vertical design. I haven't quite decided yet. I'm going to make a mistake when I cut down these papers. So I am cutting down the tablecloth paper, what I think is 11.5 by 11.5, just a little bit bigger than 11.5 by 11.5, but I seem to have cut it at 11.25 by 11.5. which requires me to have a bigger outline of that patterned paper around the outside edges than what I really wanted. So I'm just going to cut another piece of it, and this time I will be a little bit more careful. So it's 11.5 minus a little bit, plus 11.5 by minus the same little bit. And now it mats properly. Before it was matting in a weird way so that it was wider on the top and bottom than it was on the sides. I'm going to attach this, and then I realized, oops, wait a second, I forgot to chunk out the center of this. I like to rescue my centers so that I can use them again. So I will just cut through all of that. And don't forget, the adhesive is already on that other paper, so I accidentally stuck it together, but I pulled it off really quickly before it made a big problem. I'm going to outline the outside edges of this with a brown marker. This is my brown zig writer, the narrow end. The zig writer has a thick end on one side and a thin end on the other, so I'm just outlining it. I'm double outlining each of those edges. And that just gives me a little bit more, I guess, what it does is it accentuates the edges a little bit, and it also differentiates between these two patterns where they meet. Now, although I had originally cut that chunk with the orange piece in mind, when I noticed that that other pattern was on the back side of it, I liked that a lot more. So I'm going to go with that instead. And I'm just putting random things in here. This is not the way this design is going to end up being, but I just wanted to remember that I want to use all these things. I have to use a doily because it's part of the challenge. And here at the 5-minute mark into this video, do you have any predictions on whether I'm going to be able to meet this challenge or not? Leave me a comment below that says, yes, I think you'll do it, or no, I think you'll blow it. And we'll see what you guys think of me, and you will find out at the end whether I was able to pull off this challenge or not. I decided to use the rolling pin from the foam stickers, and it says "What's Cookin'," and because it has Scott in there, I thought I would call this layout "What's Cookin' Good Lookin'." And I've thought about using a question mark, but I think I'm gonna wait and decide later if I'll use the question mark or not. So that I can really play around with the design, I'm cutting down my wax paper. I'm going to cut it down even more so that I can potentially separate those two words or keep them together. I'm just going to play around with a bunch of different looks here. So they all look really great. It's hard to go wrong with these gold letter stickers that are they're so pretty. Playing around with some other ideas, like putting the title in a corner and then putting the layout in, like the layers and stuff, in another corner. Playing around with centering it versus justifying it or kind of like lining it up on either edge. And I ultimately decided to go with this idea here of an entirely vertical design that runs the whole length of the 12 by 12 sheet of paper. I'm looking for an embellishment that will fit in this bottom space here, or that I could maybe trim down to fit in the bottom space. And I can trim down that acorn paper as well. So I'm kind of keeping that in mind. It doesn't have to be exactly that size, but I want something that might be able to fit there. I'm going to put the salt shaker up in the top there so that it kind of breaks the vertical design, just to add a little something unexpected and to break up the vertical nature of the page. So the title will be at the top, "What's Cooking Good Lookin'," and then that I think that plate, and that I guess it's basically a place setting. That embellishment makes a really great place to hold some journaling. I can draw some lines in the center of that plate, or what I'm actually going to do is something different that you'll see in a few minutes. Now, I do need to keep this doily somewhere on the page because it's part of the challenge is to use a doily. I cut that doily down in half because I can use the rest of it someplace else in another page or even on the same page later. So this is the overall design of this page, and all that I have to do now is basically piece it all together and then do the final touches. So I'm thinking about whether I might want to cut apart that plate die cut into 3 pieces. So I've got a cutout fork, a cutout spoon, and a cutout plate. I remembered that I adore this whisk. It's probably one of my very favorite things in the whole kit, so I want to use that right there. And I think that the whisk and the doily balance out the salt shaker that's on the other side of the layout. I'm thinking about potentially punching out a circle that fits inside of that plate perfectly. And here's what I'm thinking about at this point, color balance. So what's cooking is pink, and there's not really any other pink on this page. So what I thought I might do is switch that gold salt shaker for the pink salt shaker. I really prefer the gold salt shaker quite a bit, but I've decided to switch them for now. I'll change my mind. I'll go back and forth a couple times on that before the page is done. I want to use a sprinkling of confetti because that's part of my challenge, so we'll be mindful of that. And at some place along the line, I realized that the salt shaker that I had cut out the square cutout of, I replaced it with actual die cut salt shakers from the die cut shapes from Simple Stories. So I'm keeping those confetti pieces out on my desk just to remind me, and I'm going to use my centering ruler for placing all of these items just to make sure that they're aligned in the center. I usually don't care about alignment and keeping things centered and symmetrical, but I don't usually do layouts that are like this. So to give this die cut a little bit more emphasis, because it does play a really important part in the design of this page, I'm outlining it with that same brown Zig Writer marker. And that is going to give the utensils a little bit more emphasis because they're a lighter color than many of the other things on the page, and just kind of pull it all together as well. I'm going to outline the plate as well, just the outside edge of the plate. And at this point, I've decided to leave this die cut intact. Remember, I had mentioned I might cut it all apart and fussy cut it. I'm deciding to leave it in one piece. So I will place it with the help of my centering ruler right there. And then it was up just a little bit higher than I wanted it to be. I want it to be about the same amount of space between what's cooking in the top and the plate and the bottom. Now the center of the word good is 2 O's, so I'm putting those 2 O's like that, and then I'll put the G and the D on either side, and that should be centered, and it is. So that worked out okay. And now I'm kind of just eyeballing where the center will be, and I know that the O and the K is the center of this word, and so then I'll just spell out from around that. And these letters don't have to be perfectly lined up because they're a brush script, and if you were actually doing a brush script, it would not be perfect. That's part of how that font works. Now, I'm not using the question mark because the question mark would make the word lookin' longer, and it wouldn't all be justified with that piece of pattern paper with the fall leaves and acorns on it. So I'm going to forego the question mark, and I'm going to use a little piece of this tag here on the cut aparts. I'm going to use that to get some lines, and it's also going to introduce the color pink towards the bottom, which will give me a little bit more balance. I disappeared off to my punch cart to see if I had the proper sized punch, which I do not. I measured it first. I can't remember what it was, but I don't have a punch that size. But I'm pretty sure at least one of these nesting circles will fit pretty well, and that one fits perfectly. So I will cut a piece of that lined paper out, and then I'll run the whole thing through my mini die cut machine. This is a Cuttle Kid. And I have this beautiful pink lined paper to put in the center of my plate, which does two things. It gives me something to journal on, but it also adds some pink to my page, which I was looking to do in order to balance off with the What's Cookin' rolling pin up at the top. I'll put my circle die away before it gets lost anywhere. I'm always paranoid about losing those little tiny die, the thin ones especially, because they're easy to get lost amongst your embellishments that are on your desk. Now I'm using my roller date stamp, but my new one doesn't go back that far. I need to find 2017, and the date doesn't matter. I just want the year, so I'm only going to selectively ink up 2017. I stamped it with some brown ink from Stampin' Up. I think it's soft suede is the color that I'm using there. And now my journaling, which says, between the two of us, Scott is the better cook, but I'm improving thanks to HelloFresh. So there's my little journaling bit. I'll use my Tombow tape runner to just add that to the plate. And now that looks nicely balanced. And now I can switch out that pink shaker for the gold. 2 pieces, 2 hits of pink is enough. And then I'll also make sure that when I'm adding my confetti, that I'm adding some pink confetti in there too, so that there's just a 3rd hit of pink somewhere. Now, on this die cut piece, the little bits of salt in the shaker are actually little green circles at the bottom, but because I want this so that it's upside down and at an angle, I want the little bits of salt to be gathered at this end of the shaker, not at the bottom of it. So I'm going to place some confetti pieces that will stand as my salt, or seasoning, I guess. And I'm going to fill up the whole bottom part of this. I'm using my Art Glitter Dries Clear glue for this, and my pickup stick, which makes picking up and placing sequins and confetti pieces super, super easy. And I also have a couple of confetti pieces that are glued to where the holes are in the salt shaker. And now I wasn't sure if this would work, but it did work. I'm using my Jelly Art 10 white gel pen. What is it called? Jelly Roll. It's called my Jelly Roll 10 white gel pen. And I'm just coloring over top of each of those little green circles so that it's not confusing that there's salt at the bottom and also salt at the top of this shaker. I'm going to use my 3mm foam tabs to pop this salt shaker up on my project, just like so. And now I'm also going to place a couple of pieces on the layout itself so that it looks like the little bits of seasoning are coming out of the shaker and landing right on my page. This was so much fun to do. Making the little salt coming out of the salt shaker might have been the highlight of my whole night of this live stream. So as you can tell from the image of myself up in the corner, I was live streaming while I made this page. I live stream every month with my patrons, and they scrap along with me, and we share our projects and chat and have a great time. So this was a particularly fun page to do because I was with my scrappy friends while I was doing it. So I'll put those sequins away because I'm done with those for now. And now I'm realizing that at the end of making this design, one of the things that recipe called for was flair, and I did not put flair on this page. And I'm thinking about where could I add flair, and my answer is nowhere. I don't want to add flair to this page. First of all, the flair that comes in the kit doesn't really go with the story that I'm trying to tell here, and I just really like the design just the way that it is. So The answer to the question that I asked at the 5-minute mark is, do you think I could make this challenge work? I did not make this challenge work, so I will be trying again. Before I stopped the live stream, I just wanted to show all 3 of the layouts that I made in this weekend with the Take Me Home kit. I had a lot of fun making these, and I'm looking forward to making more. All of the process videos for all 3 of these pages should be on my channel by the time you're seeing this one, so check that out. And I will link the playlist that has all of my videos for this kit as well. Before I share the photos, just a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. These folks help make this channel happen, so big thanks to all of them. Patrons get early ad-free access to my process videos, real-time unedited versions of most of my videos, as well as a monthly live stream, behind-the-scenes videos, and a few other things. And thanks to you also. Let me know what you think of this page, and keep an eye on my channel because I will be trying that challenge again in the very near future. In the meantime, take care and have a really great scrappy week.